There was complaining this week. I thought it was interesting. It ran in the Knoxville News Sentinel, so I'm assuming it was a Gannett written column that went in all the southeastern Gannett papers just a couple of days ago, talking about how unwatchable SEC basketball has become because the games are lasting. This one was 2 hours and 38 minutes. This one was 2 hours and 40 minutes. And it's because this one had 75 fouls called, and this one had 7 replays, and this one had 80 fouls called. And then 2 nights later, after that column comes out, the SEC has a 1 versus 6 matchup on ESPN in prime time, and buddy, they let them play. I just wonder if the league office said, boys, let's let them do their thing on national TV, because that was an awfully big shift because they let it go last night. I'm for bringing physicality back in the game. The players are now as big as linebackers, and yet you treat them like they're dainty. I'm all for letting some physicality back into the game. Last night, though, that might have been extreme because, as Jay Billis said, it was just grabbing guys on both ends of the floor all night long. Mark, your thoughts on that type of game?
It would have been a game I would have liked. I'm not the most athletic, so physicality was my thing. But, for me, it's always, as long as they keep it consistent on both sides, that's fine. Like, was it too physical? Yeah, I think it got there at points. But to their credit, sometimes what refs do is like, man, I missed that one. Now I'm trying to make it up over here. And that's when you lose control of the game. I just think from the start, they let you play. For us, Tennessee basketball, I think that's great from a guard perspective. It's terrible on the interior because we want to be physical on the guards, Garden, Zakai, Meshack. Yeah. But if it gets inside and they let guys bang and push and shove on the rebounding, Felix and Igor, and that's just not their MO.
Although I will say, when you look at a Rick Barnes, I think we talked about it last week or the week before, they always get a lot of fouls called on them because they play tough defense. Mm-hmm. So in a night where the refs are swallowing their whistles, that might have benefited you more than it would have benefited some other team.
Bingo.
So, go ahead, Tyler.
No, that game last night benefited Tennessee. Had Tennessee gotten out of there with a win last night, I don't know if so many people, or I'm sure we'd still be talking about it, but a lot of people would be sitting at home going, well, maybe we should just play physical basketball. Seeing them, 86 points a night Auburn's averaging, and you are able to grab them by their throat and go, you're playing our style of basketball tonight, and the officials let you play, roughhouse, a Dalton, double deuce, roadhouse. Get physical and let this thing play over and over again. Tennessee gets another game like that, Tennessee's going to beat the opponents that they play because you're holding them, 30 points below usually your game average. That's massive for them. This was a big opportunity missed because of the physicality.
So is Rick Barnes over there saying, be nice until it's time not to be nice?
Swiping from the till. Yeah, exactly.
Vince, Mark said as long as it's called evenly. The fouls, 18 on Tennessee, 16 on Auburn. I think Auburn at home got 3 more foul shots than you got. In terms of going on the road in college basketball, that's about as even as you can get. I didn't have a problem with it feeling like it was pro-Auburn or pro-Tennessee, but it was about as physical as I've ever seen. Your thoughts on that style last night? Did they let go of the rope and let too much go?
Well, I just thought it was inconsistent. I thought, at times they did let too much go. Now, to your theory
inconsistent per one team versus another
team?
No,
inconsistent moment to moment. I didn't think it was one-sided. Coaches a lot of times in post-game, they'll be like, well, they made more free throws than we shot, and that's what they'll refer to. There isn't that number discrepancy that was in Auburn's favor. I think the tough thing is when you talk about the perimeter versus inside. They're still ticky-tack today in college basketball on the perimeter with three-point shooters. Yeah. Any little glance, or if you're within smelling their cologne distance, you're going to get a foul call on a three-point shooter. And Rick Barnes knows that they've fouled a lot of three-point shooters, but then inside they let a lot of stuff go. So that's the biggest problem I have, is just the overall inconsistency of it.
Anything else? Did you love? If you're a head coach, Barnes didn't squawk too much last night about it. He brought up he definitely traveled. I thought he had 2 hands on his shoulders. He didn't make a huge deal out of it last night, didn't lose his mind. Coaches are always going to bring that kind of stuff up.
Yep.
Do you think he handled it the right way?
I do, and I think to Tyler's point, I mean, Barnes knows. Barnes has to know, like, this is the style that we're best at.
benefits
If we
us.
can have guys raking their arms while they're driving it, and we can be hitting them with their body, like, that's our style, our better style of win. We talked about earlier, we don't score much in transition. So we got to be able to make the game ugly and physical, and they let us do that last night.
What was it, 2 years ago against Duke? The big conversation was we got to get it muddy. Is that
Yes.
the word that was used?
Yeah.
Same thing. So, yeah. They let it get, so I wouldn't cry too much if I'm a Tennessee fan today that the refs stole it. You know, they let it get muddy, but you're the team that usually benefits from muddy basketball.
I've been trying to rack my brain since last night and even sitting here on the set the last time I saw a game that physical. And I keep going back to Big East basketball. I keep going back to Georgetown's and Marquette's and Syracuse's. Tennessee gets more of those games. Again, we're going to see a lot of muscles flexed in Tennessee. Again, has better chances to win games, dropping their opponents to their level, not getting to their level.
All right, very good. When we come back, Kentucky's coming to town with their new head coach, Mark Pope. We'll talk about that. We'll get a scouting report on them. And remember when Florida beat your brains in a couple weeks ago? They're coming to town next. 2 top 10 teams coming to Knoxville. How's it going to play out? Come on back.